It's TK Friday, and today in the joy of editing, I'm doing a full edit of Iron Blow Lookout in Tasmania. Stay tuned. Hello everyone, and welcome to the joy of editing with Dave Kelly, and welcome to TK Friday. Today it's a full edit of Iron Blow Lookout in Tasmania. The image is by Paul Burdett. Thank you, Paul, for the use of your image. If you have an image you would like me to edit on a TK Friday, go to the description of this video, scroll down through, you're going to find a Contact Me link. Contact me and we can discuss doing one of your images on a TK Friday. Also, you can download this image and the PDF notes and try this edit out for yourself. By the way, if you don't yet own the TK9 plugin for Photoshop, I'll have links in the description below this video that'll take you over to Tony Kepper's web store. There you're going to find the TK9 plugin for Photoshop, a lot of great panels over there you can pick up. Sean Bagshaw's training videos, which I highly recommend. And you'll also find the TK Grayscale and TK Magic Mixer plugins. They're sold as a bundle. You'll get both plugins for $12. If you're into black and white photography, you'll love TK Grayscale and TK Magic Mixer. Use my promo code DK15 and you'll save 15% off your entire purchase. When you use my promo code, I make a small commission, and this helps to support my channel, so I really appreciate it when you use my promo code. And not only are you helping me out, but you're getting 15% off. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Now, as always, I start out here in Lightroom Classic. I'm using a linear profile in this image because I want a relatively flat image going into Photoshop. After adding the profile, I click Auto, and then I make sure I'm not clipping my white or black point. And if I am, I'll adjust my white and black adjustments here, which I have on this image. And then as far as detail, I'm using no sharpening. I'm using Lightroom's AI denoise. And then for lens corrections, I've checked on remove chromatic aberration. I didn't check on enable profile corrections because this image didn't have one for some reason. And also I did do a crop on the image, but other than that, that was it. And now let's jump over to Photoshop. I'll just right click on the image, go to Edit In, and click on Edit in Photoshop 2026. Now, the first thing I want to do here in Photoshop is a balance and contrast adjustment of both sky and foreground, just to make sure the images all fit together nicely concerning the foreground and the sky, that it all blends well together. And then I want to add some contrast, so we're going to do that first. I'll be using David Tillett's BNC Landscape Photoshop action just to save a little bit of time. But I show you how to do this manually in the PDF notes, which if you've never done this before, I recommend that you do it that way. That way you understand what's actually going on here. I'll click BNC Landscape. And as you can see, I have two layers here. They're both curves adjustment layers controlled by the color grading tool, one for the foreground and one for the sky. And they both have MidTones 3 masks intersected with them. And the mask is only there to keep me from clipping shadows and highlights. It's just there for protection. I'm on the foreground layer. I'll come up to the multi-mask panel and click on the midtone button on the color grading tool. And what I want to do is lighten up the midtones. I'll take the brightness slider and we'll drag it to the right and we'll take it over to plus 27. And now I'll work in the shadows. I'll click on the shadow button and I'll take the brightness slider and darken the shadows. We'll move this to the left over to minus 32, and now let's click on the highlight button and open up the highlights. I'll drag the brightness slider to the right over to right there, 51. I'll shut this layer off. Here's before and here's after. Now let's work in the sky. We'll click on the sky adjustment layer, click on the midtone button, and I just want to darken up the midtones a bit, so we'll take the brightness slider and we'll drag it to the left over to right there, minus 16. I just want to add a slight amount of blue up here in the sky, just a little wee bit. I'm going to take my cursor. You see it right here. Now you could click anywhere in this color wheel and color grade the image, but I just want a little bit of blue, so I'm going to click like right here. And that just adds a tint of blue to the sky. And now let's click on the highlight button. And I want to lower the highlights, so we'll drag the brightness slider to the left and we'll take it over to right there, minus 30. Now let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. Now if we want to see the overall before and after, we can come to the combo or the CX panel and click the before after button right here. So here we started and now we're here. So we're off to a good start. Now this is where I really study the image and let it speak to me, and decide what I want to do next. Now, for most landscape images, I find a little bit of mid-tone contrast can really help the image. It pops the colors a little bit of detail in the mid-tones. It's really a nice adjustment, so we're going to do that. Right now, my color grading tool is in the way. I'll click the X just to get it out of the way. Nothing changes on the color grading layers. I'll come up to the multi-mask panel and click this button. We'll get a curves adjustment layer. And then I like to come to the multi-mask panel and click this button where we can adjust our layer mask and see the effects take place in real time. Now I'm working on mid-tone contrast, and what I do is I sample out midtones 1, 2, and 3, and I've done that already, and I decided on midtones 2, so we're going to click on midtones 2. But now we need to add a contrast curve, and I like to use the default for this, so come to the properties panel for the curves adjustment and click the drop down. Right now it's default, no adjustment at all, so click right here. And I sample out different contrast curves like increased contrast, medium contrast, strong contrast. And after experimentation, I decided I liked medium contrast, so I'll click this and look at the image when I do. This midtone 2 mask is controlling that. Now, if I click on midtone 1, you can see the effect is weaker. Here's midtones 3. So this is what this adjust layer mask panel is great for. You can see what's happening, and you have all kind of refinement tools here to work on it, which I don't need for this, but that's all we need at this point. I'm done with this panel, so I'll click the X and close it. I'll shut this layer off. Here's before and here's after. Now, right now it's going over the entire image, but you know what? I only want it in this area right up in here. So here's how I'll take care of that. I'm going to do something called masking the mask. I'm going to put this layer in a group. So come to the Combo or CX panel, and this button right here will put your layer into a group. You can put it into a group with a black hide all mask or a white reveal all mask. And you could do this either way, but what I've chose to use was a black hide all mask. So what I'll do is click right here. That puts a black hide all mask. And then click on the white brush button and make sure your opacity is at 100%. Right now I'm at 50%. I'll type my 0 key. That gets me 100% opacity. And then I'll make my brush larger with a nice soft edge on it, 0% hardness. And all I want to do is paint on this area right in here and just reveal that mid-tone contrast in this area. And make sure you don't miss anything. We can check it at the end to see if we did, and I'll show you how we can do that. Okay, so there we go. And then what we can do is click this double arrow button, and you can see that's where I painted. And I missed the little spot right here, so I can paint on there. Click this button again, and we're back to the image. Now let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. See, the mid-tone contrast is right up in here. Now this area got a little bit darker. I'm going to lighten that up, and I only want to lighten up the mid-tones in this area, and I'll show you how we can do that. Now, if I would have used the right side of the group and put a white reveal all mask here, then I could have used the black brush and just painted it off this area. So you could do it either way. Now let's lighten up these midtones. So what we're going to do is come up to the multi-mask panel and click on the luminosity mask button. And I want to lighten up midtones 1. So we'll click this button right here. We're going to output this to a curves adjustment layer. So click this button and take note that group was open. So this curves adjustment with the midtone mask went inside of that group, which is good because that mask is controlling what I want to lighten. And I'm referring to this group mask. Now note, nothing has changed yet because what I need to do is change the blend mode from normal to screen to lighten. So come to the Combo or CX panel, click the screen button, and we'll note that we lighten this whole area up in here. Now I think it's a little too strong, so I'm going to use TK Opacity Plus, which is absolutely free, and I have links for it where you can pick it up at Tony Kuiper's web store in the description of the video. So you could play around with different opacities. Right now we're at 10. Let's try 9. Let's try 8. And I think 8 is good. Let's try 7. I think I'm going to go with 8. So click on 8. Or you could click right here and drag this slider to do that if you don't have Opacity Plus yet. If not, pick it up. It's free, like I said. Now, these two layers are in this group, so we can see the overall effect of the midtone contrast and lightening. We could shut this group off. Here's before and here's after. Now, the reason I only added the mid-tone contrast in this area, because this area up in here has a nice haziness to it, and I didn't want to give it extra contrast. In fact, what I want to do is actually lighten it up just to make it look a little bit more hazy, and I'll show you how we can do that. Right now, this group is open, and the next adjustment will go inside it, and I don't want that, so what we need to do is click right here, collapse that group, and that'll prevent that from happening. To lighten up this area, I'll use a brightness contrast adjustment. So come to the multi-mask panel, click this button. This gives us a brightness contrast adjustment layer. Now, I want to target this area right here, the tones in this area. And to do that, I'll use Blend If. So come to the multi-mask panel, click on the Edit Blend If button, and you see the double arrow magenta button. Give that a click. Right now, we're selecting the entire image. Now, I want to target those tones up in there. And I know they're darker tones, so we could click on Darks 1, and we can see there's Darks 1, here's Darks 2, here's Darks 3. But you know what? I think I want to use a zone. We have different zones, like we have Zone 1, 2, 3. Here's Zone 3, which is like midtones. Here's Zone 2, which are darker tones, sitting around like Darks 3, 2, and 1. And then we have Darks 1. But if we note here, if I click on Darks 2, see it's really targeting this area right in here, but it's also going down in here, but I'll show you how we can fix that. First off, let's make the adjustment now. Let's shut off the overlay by clicking the double arrow magenta button again, and now we're going to take the brightness adjustment and drag it to the right and watch this area as I move it to the right. And I don't want to go too much, but I'm going to go over to right there, 11. Now, it's also affecting this area down in here, so here's how we can easily fix that. We made this mask right here. Hold down your Option or Alt key, click and drag up and replace this mask. Now, it's the opposite of what I want, so we need to flip this around or invert it, and to do that, it's really easy with TK9. On the Combo or CX panel, look for this button right here for invert, give that a click, it inverts it. And now look at this area. We're only targeting this area right here. Let me shut this off. Here's before, here's after. And it's not affecting the sky because if we click this double arrow magenta button, you can see that's the area that it's targeting right there. Blend If is keeping it out of the sky. Click this button again and see the image back. Pretty cool, right? I love the tools here in TK9. It really makes editing in Photoshop such a joy for me. And now I continue to study the image, and I'm looking back in this area, and there's a little bit of magenta in there. I just like to tone that back, and here's how we'll do it. We use a hue saturation adjustment layer, and right now my Edit Blend If panel is in the way. I'm going to click the X to close it. Nothing changes on the Blend If layers, and I want to click this button right here in the Multi-Mask panel. That gives me a hue saturation adjustment layer. I'm going to come up and click on this Target tool, and right around here, you can see that magenta in there. I'm going to click and drag to the left and reduce that saturation, and I'll take it over to right there, -70. Now let me shut this off. This is before, and this is after. See, it just tones that magenta down. I know it's just a minor little tweak, but sometimes these little adjustments really add up at the end to make a great final edit. And now back to studying the image. I'm looking right down in here. The light areas down in here, I'd like to tone down, darken them up a bit. To target just the light areas, we'll use a luminosity mask. So come to the multi-mask panel, click on this button for luminosity masks. I know this is a lights. Here's lights 1 where we default. Here's lights 2. Lights 2 is targeting the light areas down in here. But I think I can do better. I can refine with these different color channels. I'll click on red, green, blue, cyan, magenta, and yellow. And I think yellow really hits the areas that I want, so I'm going to use yellow. Now, to darken, I want to use a burn tool. So here's our burn tool. It has 2 sides, a left and a right side. You could use either side. I'm going to use the right side. Now, the right side is a blank pixel layer in the soft light blend mode. If you use the left side, you'll get a gray pixel layer in the soft light blend mode. Either will work, and sometimes it matters. In this case, it doesn't. Now, I want to burn at full 100% opacity, which I'm set at. If you're not, type your 0 key. And then with a nice soft edge brush, just come down in here and paint right in here. We're just going to darken this area right down in through here. And that's it. Let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. Again, before and after. And I like that result. Now, if you feel the effect is too strong, you can always dial it back with layer opacity. In other words, I could click the 8 for 80% or 7 for 70, but I like it up at 100%. I'll click the 10. Now what I want to do is just increase the foreground exposure a little bit. And right now I have a selection here. I'm going to use an exposure adjustment layer. And I don't want to have a selection because that selection will go into the exposure adjustment layer. So we need to deselect it. So on the Combo CX panel, click this button to deselect your selection and then come up to the multi-mask panel and click this button right here. You're going to get an exposure adjustment layer. Click and highlight this field. Hold down your shift key. And what we're going to do is, as you're holding down your shift, click your up arrow. That gives you 1/10 of a stop. Let's click it again. Here's 2/10. I'll do it one more time. Here's 3/10 of a stop, and I think that's good. Now, I only want it in the foreground. So we could come to the Combo or CX panel, click on the Layer Mask Calculator. You could click Sky and subtract it, or click Foreground and click this button to apply it. Now it's making this area a little bit too light up here. So what I want to do is click on my black brush and then at 100% opacity with a nice soft edge brush, I just want to paint that adjustment off right in this area here. Just like that. I just don't want that getting too light right there. Now let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. The exposure adjustment is lightening my darks too much, but we can correct that with Blend If. So here's what we do. Come to the multi-mask panel, click on the Edit Blend If button, click this No Darks 2 button, and that keeps it out of the darks. Now, let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. That's much better. See, we're not lightening up those darks. We're maintaining the contrast. One of the things I really love about this image is the water down here. Let's give it some saturation and draw some nice attention to it. So I need to get to my multi-mask panel. Edit Blend If is in the way. Click the X and close that panel. We need to target this water, so click on the Color Mask button, and we're going to sample the watercolor in here. We're just going to click right here, and then just click OK. And the water's there. You may not see it, but what we'll do is double-click Auto, and now we can really see it. But we can brighten that up even more by taking this brightness slider and dragging it to the right. And I'm going to take it way over to like right here. See how it lightens up? Now we can do something called Mask the Mask. So what you do is get your lasso tool from your tool wheel and then just lasso a selection around the water, just like so. And then to mask the mask, you click this button right here. A Gaussian blur dialog comes up. You can add blur if you want to. We don't need it, so just click OK. And now we've just selected that water. Pretty cool. And now let's output that to a hue saturation adjustment layer. Click this button right here. We've already targeted that color, so we can just use the master saturation adjustment, which it defaults at. And what we'll do is increase the saturation of the water. Isn't that cool? See that saturation coming up? And let's give it a decent amount. Let's come up to like right here, 46. Let me shut this off. Here's before, here's after. I really like that. Now your eye's drawn to that beautiful pool of water there. At least I think it's beautiful. And now it's time for a vignette. If your TK actions aren't open, click a TK button on the Combo or CX panel. Click Vignette. A Gaussian blur dialog comes up. I always just click OK. And now we've added our vignette. I'll shut it off. Here's before and here's after. I want to keep it out of the darkest dark, so we'll use Blend If for that. So come to the multi-mask panel, click on the Edit Blend If button, and click No Darks 2, just to keep it out of the darkest darks. Let me shut it off. Here's before and here's after. I like the vignette. One final step. We want to add some detail into the foreground area. And we're going to use the Camera Raw filter to do that. And I need to get back to the multi-mask panel, so let's click the X to close down the Edit Blend If panel. But first, let's click on the Camera Raw button. All our layers get stamped together, and we have a Smart Object layer. In case we need to come back and make readjustments, we can. We need to go to the Effects panel, so click on the Effects panel. And what I want to do is add a bit of texture, not too much. So we'll take the texture slider and we'll drag it to the right and add some texture in here. I don't want to go too crazy, maybe just to right there, plus 10. And now let's add a decent amount of clarity. We'll drag this to the right. And we're going to take this over to right there, plus 25. Now it's over the entire image, but let's not worry about that for now. We're going to click OK to apply that. This brings us back into Photoshop. Now, again, this is a smart filter, the camera raw filter right now. You could double click this and go back and readjust if you need to. Now we're going to create a mask to apply the detail to only the area we want it. And I'm going to use a depth map to help me. Come up to the multi-mask panel, hold down your Command or Control key and click this button right here. And you'll note we have a depth map. And what you want to do is click Save as Channel and Inverse. So click right here. And you'll note down here in our channels, we've saved out a subject foreground and a depth map background. And now come up to the layer mask calculator on the combo or CX panel, give it a click. We want subject foreground, so click that and then click the apply button. And now I want to make this lighter. What we're going to do is come up to the multi-mask panel, click this button, and we can edit our layer mask with this button. And what I want to use is a levels adjustment. So click the levels adjustment button. And what I want to do is lighten it up. So I'll take this mid-tone slider and I'll drag it to the left. And I'll take it over to right there, 1.84. And then we're going to click OK. And notice how that has gotten a lot lighter. And the strongest effect is going to be closer to us and it's going to get less and less detail as it goes back in. I'm done with the Adjust Layer Mask panel. I'll click X to close it. Now, I don't want to add detail in the water, so we could subtract that out of the depth map. So here's how we do it. Get your Object Selection tool. I'm in the rectangle mode, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle right around here, and we'll select out the water. And then all we need to do is come up to the Combo or CX panel, click on the Layer Mask Calculator button, click on Active Selection, click minus to subtract it, and we subtracted out the water. Now let me shut off the detail layer, but first let's get rid of this selection by clicking this button right here so we don't see the marching ants. So I'll shut this off. Here's before, and here is after. Again, before and after. Brings out some nice detail in those rocks. And like I said, we get most of the detail up in here and it tapers off as it goes back. And now for the fun part, let's see where we've come from. Let's see an overall before and after. So on the Combo or CX panel, look for this button, the before after button. We'll give it a click. We started out here and we end up here. So I'm really happy again with the way this edit turned out. And I do hope you download the image and the PDF notes and give this edit a try and make it your own. Experiment, play around, have fun with the TK9 plugin for Photoshop. Well, there it is, everyone. Another TK Friday comes to an end. I hate to see it go. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you did, please give this video a like, share it with your friends, and if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe. Click the bell notification icon. Click all so that you'll receive all notifications, and then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll get notified about it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly, and I will see you all right here next time. But until then, happy editing.